Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion. I'm Peter, sitting over there figuring out how to put a crib together. Is Watch Party. How you doing, sir?
I was like, what do you mean put a oh, it's in the episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just use my hands. I don't need the tools. Yeah.
That's right, not the Allen Ranch, no, for sure. How are you doing, sir?
Good. Wonderful night.
Yes. Any updates with the fiance party in terms of Cobra Kai related stuff? Do you guys go back and rewatch anything? Have any deep discussions about the characters, things like that?
It's interesting. You say that because no, we haven't had. I was actually going to tell her to watch my videos because she's never seen any of them, and I think especially the review I put out, the sort of part three and a little bit retrospective of the whole series. I was
Yeah.
gonna. She hasn't seen that, so I was gonna suggest it to her because I think that a lot of people really liked that and reacted to that one. So so I'm going to get on that and, I'll report maybe for the next recap what she thought.
Sounds good. Am I mistaken? Did she at some point, or maybe you posted it that she her favorite character is chosen? Am I
Yes. Oh,
misremembering? Ah,
maybe you didn't, because it was at the very end after we watched all of them. I said, so now that the show's done, what was your favorite character? And she said, I had chosen.
oh wow.
And part of it that is he came a long way from the movie because she thought he was like
Ah,
just crazy ridiculous in the movie, and then like he went through this journey and she really enjoyed him, the humor of him and the karate badassery and all that. So
is it because he was basically already changed when we do see him in Cobra Kai, as opposed to like someone like a Kreese, we had to kind of see that arc?
no, I think even though in the show, like we know he's already changed, but like still the experience of him as a character, where
Mm.
and then especially the season three, and then when he shows up then through season five, and we get to know him a little bit more, and it's kind of funny, and the guys. I guess it's just he really grew on her.
Yeah, I had kind of a bit of a rewatch. I was going back and forth,
Mhm.
skipping around episodes, just paying attention to certain like character dynamics and something I may reference like in this review, for example. But I went back and watched a little bit of 604 Underdogs, and that's when we first see Hawk with like the American flag hair. And my
Mhm.
daughter, she saw it and she was telling me like, I should do that. I should have a mohawk and that
Mhm.
would be cool. And so some of us, some of you that follow me on X may have seen that.
Yeah, I did.
And she was asking me about, Tori, Robbie's girlfriend fighting for the other team. And she kept on asking like, oh, Cobra Kai is bad. I'm like, well, these group of Cobras, they are, and so it was really hard trying to explain it to a 6-year-old, the things that happen in Cobra Kai. So that's kind of how my weekend has been. I don't think there's anything big to report. There's been, kind of little interviews here and there. ET put out some sort of segment called like ET Vault, and they showed some footage of the Karate Kid I've never seen before footages, and so that
Mhm.
was really neat to see. Some in that same interview, they spoke with like John and Hayden. And kind of asked about spin-offs, and it's the same thing we've been hearing in other interviews as well. There's plenty that they have in mind, and they're just not at the stage that they can reveal anything. And so yeah, exciting stuff. And the
Mhm.
cons are still going, so check your local cons, see if any of the cast members are coming. I believe this past weekend in Nashville was Martin Cove, William Zapka, and Patrick Lewis. So it was just three of them there, but they are making their rounds. And I think we still have Paley Fest towards the end of March, and also the Salute to Cobra Kai in New Jersey at the end of May, leading into the first couple of days of the June there. So if you want to see the cast members, check your anything local to you, or if you have the means to travel in your general area, yeah, take a look. You never know. But tis the season for these cons. So,
Yeah.
Steel City, I believe, is in April. Don't quote me. I don't know if there's any of the cast. going to that one. But yeah, we'll keep an eye and ear out and report the next time if there's any updates. So I think that's it. Let's see. We are going to be discussing episode 11, Into the Fire. This one is written by Joe Pioroli and Luan Thomas and directing for the first time on Cobra Kai. And I think at all is Joe
At all.
Pioroli.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's his
yeah.
debut.
Yes, this is his debut indeed. Before we get into it, let me go ahead and read Amy's synopsis as she provides. She says the Sekai Taikai is over and everyone seems to be trying to put it behind them. Kreese is back in Korea, still sharpening knives, but now he is feeling genuine guilt for what happened in Barcelona. Sensei Kim won't allow him to take all the blame, though, because she says they're all at fault. At the high school, Counselor Blatt tells Robbie and his family that he's not going to get into college. She suggests some trade schools and seems to have a dislike for Johnny. And y'all, I'm starting to think she's not very good at her job. Meanwhile, at LaRusso Auto, Daniel is cheerfully in deep denial about both the tragedy and the fact that maybe Sam isn't interested in going to college close to home. Cousin Nessa returns to psychoanalyze everyone and manages to out Sam for not wanting to go to UCLA and diagnose Daniel's whole vibe as wildly unhealthy. Gunther is trying to move on from the catastrophe, but Terry hijacks his massage to give him a very convincing sales pitch for continuing the competition. It works, but Gunther insists that it must be a unanimous decision from all senseis. Kim and Kreese's reaction to the news is tentative, but Master Kim says that they will compete, and they will win, and they will likely commit more murder to get revenge for Kwan's death. After a horrific training session involving Yoon, Kreese takes control and sends him away. And there's no clever or subtle way to describe this. Sensei Kim straight up murders Master Kim. No one should be especially sad about this because he was a monster, but it's still cold-blooded murder. John needs to compete. Johnny needs to compete. So when they get the call, he's ready. He makes it clear to Daniel and to Carmen at various points that this is his dream and he needs it. But Daniel can't say yes. A kid died. He can't get past that. Gunther breaks the news to Terry and he immediately knows who the holdout is. So naturally, he goes and kidnaps Johnny under the guise of a test drive. He didn't really have to do much to convince Johnny, but this does get Johnny to ambush Daniel for a sit-down meeting with the three of them. Daniel is skeptical, but the truth is, Terry is dying, and this is all he has. He'll cover all costs, and Daniel can pick the breath and the location. Johnny is willing to leave this all up to Daniel and respect his wishes, but he wants to compete. And just like that, we're back on. She captured it all. Yeah,
Okay.
all the good points there.
Mhm.
So, initial thoughts of this episode. Do you?
It's kind of a slow burner. Like it's like not a lot happens, but it's sort of like it feels a lot like maybe 301, where you're dealing with the aftermath of what happened. So
Yeah,
everyone is still affected by the death of Kwan, and so that's playing out in many different ways. Specifically, in the biggest way is with Kreese in the Korea side, and then we have Daniel in the American side, and then they both stories are kind of interweaving between that. From Greece, you have Kim Sun Young and Kim Da Eun, and how that's weaving with him in that side, and then with Daniel, it's a little bit more of a mix with all the Miyagi Do's, Amanda, and specifically Johnny, as he's kind of in this way, and then then you have this third element of Terry Silver trying to get everything back on. So that's sort of how I feel about the episode.
yeah, how fitting that you compared it to 3-1 titled Aftermath,
Mhm,
it's kind of a bit of a
mhm,
reset,
mhm.
even maybe 601 to a certain extent. I'd have to think about that.
Well,
But
you could say it's like 601, but the opposite. Where 601, everyone's happy, peacetime in the valley, and everything's happy after the win. Now it's like people are a little bit more disturbed about what
yeah,
happened.
yeah. yeah, kind of flipping that script.
Right.
Yeah, really enjoyed it for Joe's directorial debut. Like I kind of forget that
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
because he's been around since the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, and been around the same group of people. Joel Novo has been kind of I think Sholo described him as like an in-house director, kind of their
Yeah.
go-to if they don't have guest directors in the subsequent seasons and such. But in terms of the writing, it's kind of like classic Joe and the One. It's got a
Hmm.
lot of really great lines and tense conversations. And some points I had a little bit of anxiety, so
Yeah,
overall
for
it was
sure.
really good. Cousin Ness, they write her really well, and
They do.
so yeah, I just like seeing everyone kind of acting the way we had hoped in previous seasons,
Hmm.
and not the dragging on of the tensions and stuff like that. So we will jump right into it. We open up and we see that we're back in South Korea. And how did Kreese get the Unjung Do back?
Well, I assume someone took it out of Quan and said, "Hey, who owns this?" And he's like, "Oh, it was mine. As from our dojo." So
You,
eventually, it
you,
made its way back to him.
he didn't
Yeah,
etched a if found, give to John Kreese or something like that.
he went by the lost and found before they left, and it was
Yes.
yeah,
I thought that was interesting. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a murder weapon. It was a freak accident. Here's the knife
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Now,
And because it
I
is, it is like technically a historical item from their dojo. So,
right, right,
it's not like, yeah, the police doesn't like need to keep it or something. So I guess that
yeah.
was basically what happened.
We see that it's leading up to Kwan's funeral. We cut back and forth with Kreese talking to Sensei Kim and asking more about Kwan's family. Do you remember if we had a discussion about where we thought his family was? I feel it was definitely brought up like, oh, maybe he doesn't
Well, I
have
think we
any.
talked about it in general for the dojo.
Hmm.
Like, are they just living here or whatever?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we talked about it like in general, not necessarily specifically Quan.
But yeah, this makes sense that he doesn't have any family.
Mhm.
Kind of had it's one of those things that really had no other options.
Yeah.
I know like
It's
for
convenient for plot too, because now you don't have to like they don't have to sit around and deal with like grieving parents or something.
right, an episode dedicated to like
Yeah,
the funeral,
yeah,
to
yeah.
trying to figure things out. Um, yeah, so let me see. How does one? Okay, so I guess my next question was like, how does one end up in a dojang run by a master Kim? So I mean, it's kind of like a karate orphanage, right? You mentioned it's a little convenient, but I'm just thinking, uh, how does somebody in Kwan's position end up there? Is he? That he becomes basically an orphan, right? If he's under 18, and
Hmm.
well, the laws might be different over there, but maybe it's like, well, you can go to jail, you can maybe join the military or join, martial arts or something. Maybe
Hmm.
Master Kim has, you know,
Some
the
in with some local authorities or something.
right. I mean, I
Hmm.
just mentioned military, like we know there's
Hmm.
some history there from the previous films.
Hmm.
So that could be it. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear if we will ever hear any more of Kwan's backstory. If we can get backstory for stuff I mean, Hayden has said it before. Every character has a backstory, and so I wonder how could we find out more about Kwan. Um, I'm not familiar with this type of funeral, so I'm not sure if like the coffin is traditional or if it's a type of wood that burns faster than others. But we do see Kwan's gi, actually not his full gi, but it's just the top and
Hmm.
a headband laid on top of the coffin as he's wearing it.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on like the funeral and the coffin at all?
Um, I mean, nothing specific. Yeah, they put the headband on, so I guess it's an honor funeral if you're in Kim Sun Young's dojang. So,
Hmm.
that's the honorable way to go out, I guess.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, what the name. because it's not Cobra Kai, right? I do have some notes on that a little bit later on, so we'll save it. Kreese says this is his fault, but Sensei Kim says they all did this, and
Mhm,
sooner or later they're going to face her grandfather's consequences. So it sounds like, she knows there's going to be some sort of punishment.
mhm.
Um,
See,
this is
I
when
would like to know a little bit more what Kreese is thinking. When he says it's my fault, what part
Mhm.
of it is he blaming himself for? Bringing the knife to the tournament at all? That he was kind of careless in how he dropped it, and he was. That was probably the most careless, the way he stuck it in his belt and behind him and then dropped it.
Yeah.
Or is it because, he was encouraging Quan to use emotion and show no mercy. And he thought like maybe he pushed Quan to be reckless and Quan was reckless because of him. Like, so which of those possibilities is Kreese thinking about when he says it's my fault?
I think
I
D,
don't
all the
know.
above.
All the above.
I
Yeah.
think it's all the above, and
Hmm.
I think all of it, he's the root of all of it. So I think he means all of it too.
Hmm.
Like if it wasn't for me, you know, Quan wouldn't have died, and the
Hmm.
the brawl. I mean, would the brawl have still happened? I
Well, I
don't
mean, a little
know.
bit. I mean, because
Yeah,
the brawl really started because Quan was pushing Robbie and stuff. Now, Kreese may
right.
not actually know that because it would actually be difficult to specifically know how the brawl started. But I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
because they got disqualified and then got reinstated because of Tiger Strike. Hmm.
Right. Hmm.
See, we'd have to go back, but I don't know. I guess maybe not so much for that, but bringing the knife, losing the knife, and
Hmm.
the stuff that he instilled in Quan from 603 and then in
Hmm.
608.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just it just sucks that it did take the death of a student for him to finally realize it. So that's kind
Hmm.
of where I'm thinking he's at.
And do
Um,
you think this is actually the first time he's had a student die? I guess so. Um,
y-
for all his years.
yeah, I think maybe at the very least, if there are others, this is the only one that he was kind of present for.
Right. Mhm.
He may have had effect on somebody else. And maybe that relationship, well, not even maybe, but that relationship wasn't as strong as his and Johnny's, and so it could have been something where it didn't care. Maybe somebody else's took the no mercy, got in a bar fight and died, and it's just kind of whatever to him.
Yeah.
But
Like we
this
know
one,
Dutch went to jail and juvie
right,
and such, but he never died. So
right. Um, Let's see. Minsuk is signaled to come set the coffin on fire, and we see Master Kim staring from across, and he doesn't look happy. That's when we get the title card there.
mhm.
We cut to 1 month later, and we're at West Valley High School. Now, did you take this as 1 month later from the funeral, but it had possibly been several weeks following the Sekai Taikai?
I would say a month from the funeral. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
yeah. So it could
maybe.
be even months since episode 610.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the funeral would have been that much, probably no more than a week or two
Yeah. Right.
later.
What kind of
So
arrangements are they trying to be, trying to make? There's no family, really, no nobody
yeah.
flying in.
They
So
would
it's really
release
just
it the body to the family,
like
which
in a
I
few
guess maybe
days.
was Kim Sun Young or Kim Da-eun. Yeah, so yeah.
Let's see. We have the return of Counselor Blatt. Johnny and
Mhm.
Carmen is with Robbie, and it sounds like Robbie is too far behind that he's not on track to graduate. Shannon and her new beau is with her. He's credited, but I did forget the name. What do you think of Timu Johnny? I know we kind of talked a little bit about him.
It's funny. I guess I think Shannon has a type,
Okay.
so that's her type. I actually is that guy. I thought he might have been Billy Zabka's stunt double. I wasn't sure because I saw another shot like of his stunt double, like where they were shooting or something, and I thought it was him, and I was like, oh wait, maybe that was him, but I didn't look it up, so I don't know.
No, I don't believe it is. But and I'm sure he has several.
Yeah,
But when
well,
I
it could
spoke
be,
with
yeah.
Patrick Lewis, Was it Patrick Lewis? Somebody had mentioned that a Matt Mullins,
Mhm.
stood in for Axel and Billy. And I think that
Okay,
might have been
okay,
in part two, or at the
okay,
very least, like over in the Sekai Taikai. And now I don't think Ken Bearfield. That's jumping ahead to episode 14, but
Mm,
yeah, they're just doing some swapping around in terms of who's available and stuff to kind of be
for
stunt
sure.
double. Because yeah, Ken Bearfield I don't think played Marty later on in 14.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I
But
think that
anyway,
yeah,
the guys, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like it's just, but it also, even for what it's worth, it shows Shannon moving on, right? So
absolutely,
to,
absolutely, and again
Timu
he
Johnny, but yeah, dollar store
right.
Johnny.
We talked we talked about it in our our part three discussion,
Mhm,
and they've probably met in AA, and he's getting his life together, and he is not like these previous guys that we've seen her with, but also
mhm,
it sounds like he's been in a part of like discussions about Robbie as well for him to kind of quote unquote insert himself in right here and not really feeling that he is overstepping. Like maybe
mhm.
that's how close him and Shannon is that he feels he can kind of voice his opinions here. So I'm fine with him.
Okay.
It just yeah, like you said, it shows that she's moving on.
Jesse Malinowski, I think his name is.
Oh,
I just looked. Oh,
what's
yeah, playing
what's his
Jace. I
character?
guess his name Jace.
Jace. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, I'm all right with that. It's not a Gavin or a well no shade to Gavin who's
Jace.
on the All Valley board, but Braden, right, is that
Oh,
the P what is it called? Physical therapist, the PT in season three.
oh, is that? It might have
Yeah, I
been.
think that's the one with the man bun. I believe that's
Okay.
his name, Braden. So
Mhm.
I'm fine with a Jace
No.
that's getting his
Okay.
life together and maybe cutting back on the
Okay.
drinking a little.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess he's not a stunt double. So
Okay.
I was wrong on that. I just that was just something I looked but never looked up.
Yeah. Let's see here. Now, Amy did mention that I'm kind of forgetting exactly how she worded it about the dynamic between Blatt and Johnny, and we kind of
Oh, wait,
discussed it a
wait.
little bit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm just seeing. Apparently, he was in American Reunion, so he worked with
Oh,
John and Hayden.
yeah, and Hayden on their first film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you
Mhm.
go. I wonder what he played or who he played. Interesting.
Um, Kyle.
Um,
I'm not sure, but whatever
yeah.
who that was. Yeah.
I need to go back. It's been a minute.
Yeah. Mhm.
But let's see. Yeah, this whole kind of the back and forth between Blatt and Johnny. We kind of talked about it during the part three discussion. Do you
Mhm.
think it stems from like her love for Daniel?
You could read into that if you want, but I also think it's just a little bit more like the quintessential clueless guidance counselor
Yeah,
who is just like she's just like, oh, I wanted to be field hockey and I
right,
couldn't. So obviously you're not going to have any career in karate, like, you know, and just doesn't
right,
really know the situation. She actually doesn't really quite know what she's talking about, but she thinks she does, which is
right.
probably, a good summary of guidance counselors.
Um, let's see. She thinks he's unlikely to go pro, and Johnny's doing his
Mhm.
damnedest to hold back some comments, biting on his
Yeah.
fist there. She
Right.
has
And there's a good
Robbie's.
moment where they both hold him back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Good physical comedy. She hands Robbie some brochures, one of which is Brooks' MIT, but the one he opens up is about maintenance and has a
Mhm.
picture of Amazon Johnny. So I thought Amazon wants to step up from Temu, and I think,
I would
anyway.
actually agree with that. Yeah, yeah. Mhm,
Okay. So he's on a ladder cleaning the gutters like Johnny did in Ace Degenerate.
mhm.
I did notice a typo. There should have been a space between identifying and. So it says identifying and. So
Oh,
yeah, I was trying to see if there's any kind of nice Easter eggs, but no, just someone missed a space bar. So we cut to LaRusso Auto, and Daniel's just sold another car. This dialogue from Louis and Anush, which I'm happy to see them return.
mhm.
Did you get the sense that people are talking about Daniel and the incident, but he's trying to pretend it didn't happen,
Um,
or is it like just
it's
Amanda?
not so much
Maybe
Daniel trying to pretend it didn't happen, but is just like totally overcompensating,
okay,
maybe. by like going into his work, which I think is what comes up later.
Yeah. And what about the bonsai thing? Do you think that's just because of Mr. Miyagi, like
Yeah,
how
I
he's
think
feeling
that's
right now?
a reference that Daniel is having trouble. So like he learns Mr. Miyagi killed someone and then that a student just dies. And like and just even now thinking about Mr. Miyagi reminds him of the death, reminds him that Mr. Miyagi killed someone. Like it's like every time he goes down that path in his mind, it's like a spiral. So he's trying to, to use modern speak. He's trying to remove his triggers. So he doesn't want the
Right.
bonsais because that's his trigger now.
Right. Oh,
Oh
I like
boy, I
that.
could be modern speak hip guy.
Uh, let's see. After, let's see, where was that? No more bonsais. Now, if we had a time jump, when did Daniel decide they're not doing that, you think? This is like kind of more recent, or do you think, because they're talking
Yeah,
about,
like let's just say within the past week or two.
yeah,
Because he was getting his triggers and now he's like eliminating it, every week it's something new until the point where we're seeing him now.
yeah, and he almost feels like as I continue to rid of these triggers, I can perform better, right? Like he's, selling more is kind of what we're
Right,
learning.
right, right.
Let's see, dialogue. Okay, no more bonsai. We find out that there's going to be an anniversary party in 2 days. And I like how Daniel says that you guys are going to be my right hand men, and Louis like, yeah, he's hesitating. He's like, I'm more of a southpaw, like And I said it's kind of like Rocky. The southpaw. Do you think he's just trying to make light and not maybe let Daniel know that they kind of know what's going on or suspect something's going on? Because it
I
you know
think
it,
I
it
think it's like a Louis line. It's
okay.
just, never quite serious, always kind of joking around a little bit, which is
A
how I
little
take
bit.
that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I felt that there's been a little bit of lack of a better word, a little maturity in him because they're talking about like well, Anusha's talking about Quan, and then
Hmm.
he makes that pancake reference. It's like
Hmm.
show some respect, and so I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect that out of Louis. Um, and then Anush references when they were junior salesmen, like cleaning like the spray painted dicks off of billboards and stuff like that. So.
Hmm.
And I believe that's something. Did you say that at some point where I guess you never thought about it, but it made sense that they were junior salesmen?
Um, it does. I mean, I don't remember if I said that specifically, but yeah, like,
Oh,
they started and then.
I wonder if it was your stream. But the stuff that
Hmm.
Daniel had him do back then. Yeah, I guess you're right that it does make
Hmm.
sense. And then a couple years, they
Yeah.
didn't outright say it that they're senior
Yeah.
salesmen now, but they're still
Well, like
around.
it's certainly for Louis, especially, like it's implied, and he even says, like, I'm the new guy, or I was the new guy, now Robbie's the new guy, so he's
Right.
no longer the new guy, but yeah,
Yeah, and they're walking in with coffees now as well, not just making them. So.
yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Daniel makes a sale to someone who works in admissions in UCLA. We get a sense of Daniel's headspace here, trying to convince Amanda that they're safe and happy, right?
Hmm.
So he's kind of doing that thing. So yeah, that's right. We're safe and happy. We're good.
And
Um,
Sam will be close.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's a point that he makes. Yep.
yeah.
Cut to an undisclosed location. Tahiti question mark.
Tahiti, yeah.
I don't know if anyone's asked John, Josh, and Hayden that yet, but we'll try to get that answered hopefully. But Amy said it as well. Like Silver is making some really good points. It's I don't.
Mhm.
I understand where Gunther's coming from as well. Like, well, everyone's got to say yes, but I
Mhm.
think Terry really hits on all yeah, like everything makes sense. You don't
Mhm.
want the Sekai Taikai to kind of end this way. You don't want to. What was he say? You don't want to steer away from the storm. You want to steer into it.
Mhm.
Hit it head on, and you can make something out of this. That way, your legacy will be like, okay, one of the best tournaments ever, and not like have the death of a competitor on your hands. Not
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
his hands, but as part of his legacy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm almost surprised Gunther was just like willing to let the whole thing go away. Like you almost agree with Terry Silver here. Like, well, you
Yeah,
can't let it end, you know?
yeah, yeah. And do you think it also had to do possibly with Gunther being, what was the term that he used? He's a little invulnerable right now position.
Um, like him coming around to Silver's position.
Well, just in his physical presence right now. Just like he's like not clothed, and you're
Mhm.
invading his personal time right here. To make the you think
Yeah.
there's any like kind of power play there, and that's also
Oh, he
why
was. And I
maybe
actually wrote a note here. Gunther shouldn't have put the robe on. He should have just stood up naked, Terry Silver style.
silver style. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and just like confronted him directly like that. So,
Just charge at him.
you flip the script.
That's
He
right.
goes from being a vulnerable, now I have the power.
Right. That's right.
Look at what's in
Um,
your face.
it's not quite tall enough. Maybe if he stood on his
Yeah, it's
on the
true. It's
bed or something.
true.
Let's see. We cut back to Korea. And since Kim's filling Kreese in on the news, he's apprehensive, but she seems into it. Like, do you have any thoughts as to why Sensei Kim? It seems like she's trying to convince him to do it.
It's like she wants to, but she knows not to push Kreese at the moment. We can decide it later, but then of course Kim Sun Young has already made up his mind.
Right. Do you think there's a part of her that maybe sees this as like a second chance to do right by her grandfather? Maybe like, oh,
Oh yeah, I think that's a bit the whole thing was always to win the Sekai Taikai to take her grandfather, their style to the world.
right.
And they were close. They were, very close. Within striking distance of getting there. And, so you don't want to end with one of your people dying, which is what motivates Kim Sun Young.
hmm Master Kim enters. There's no discussion that his dojo has been embarrassed and that they will enter the tournament and they will avenge Quan. Um, and now he says they took one of ours, yeah, so we'll take one of theirs. Do you think there's anyone in particular, or
Well, I wrote the same thing. Who is he talking about? He wants revenge, but against who? Like specifically Axel,
right?
specifically the Iron Dragons in general, just anyone they happen to fight against. Like,
Robbie
like, does
because
he
his
even know
ribs.
like how the tournament ended? Like it was gonna be Axel versus Robbie. So what if Robbie beats Axel, and then technically no one from your dojang is even gonna fight the Iron Dragons? Like,
Yeah,
like what if, yeah, so
the cameraman, who
uh,
got in Quan's way.
yeah. So um yeah, so I don't know. It's sort of a generic, like we don't even know if he knows the specifics of the tournament, just that, Guan died. But
Right. He does name Yoon as their fighter, and that this will require a special lesson, and we get a black deadly scroll. I guess Miyagi's is like a regular looking scroll, but these are black uh,
the way of the
papyrus.
fist uses
What's the
very um well, I mean, I think it just scroll, if it doesn't have to be papyrus. That's just
papyrus? That's the word. Yeah,
ancient.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks cool.
The real moves are all on scrolls apparently. So that's
I think so. The ones that
yeah.
are very effective,
Hmm.
cheat codes. Sensei Kim teaches the lesson, but not
Hmm.
well enough. Master Kim brings up Turner, his special student, and
Hmm.
I think we did kind of talk about this a little bit. I kind of forget whether you lean on, if he suspects Kreese having any sort of hand in the Turner's. I don't know if it's a disappearance, but Turner dying in the war, so to
Hmm.
speak, or was this discussion just kind of about like maybe Kreese didn't really quite have the right eye in picking somebody that's quote unquote special and ended up picking Quan kind of thing?
Um, I would suspect Kim Sun Young understands what he teaches, the way of the fist, and it makes people destructive. And since we assume what we have to assume at some point when they came to visit, they would have told him they learned it from Turner back in Vietnam. And then let's just assume, back during that visit, he said what happened to Turner, and maybe they just say like he didn't make it out of the war, like, and so maybe at some point he always, and especially just reading Kreese's reaction as well as knowing what he teaches the way of the fist, maybe he always suspected it was Kreese and is even kind of bringing that back up now. Um, that's how I would take that. But at the
Yeah,
same time, he even says he's looking for the future. He's not overly concerned about what happened to Turner.
right. Yeah, I think that does make the most sense. But also, why write this dialogue if it didn't have a deeper
Mm-hmm,
meaning?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I've always thought that, yeah, Master Kim suspects it. Um, Master Kim has even performed this move on Minsuk.
mm-hmm,
Continues to tell Kreese that they learn from punishment and lists that this is punishment for failing a teammate, failing students, and failing him. So I
mm-hmm,
did go back and watch, like I said, different episodes. One of the other ones I watched was six. Was it 610? Might have
mm-hmm,
been 610. No, 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 606. I went back and watched some 606.
mm-hmm,
Basically to kind of focus on Sensei Kim kind of being a sensei, like her moments with Tori and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
I've really come around to my initial thoughts about, to put in Amy's words, like cold-blooded murder, because it exactly is. And I think that's why like I was kind of turned off by it. I was like, oh wow, that's she just straight up killed her grandfather. But I went back and watched some of these things, and it's kind of like it's inevitable to take Kreese's words.
mm-hmm,
It was gonna happen. And so we are seeing like this is the baddest we've seen of Master Kim. We've
mm-hmm,
heard of the tales, and we've seen him in 603, that little bit in the flashback in season 5, in season
mm-hmm,
5. And so, yeah, I think, there's words from Samuel L. Jackson that I could insert here, from a movie, but yeah, he deserved it, I think, ish,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know. Uh, Instructs Yoon to go harder on Minsuk, and then he calls on Chung Hee. Doesn't think it's perfect, and say they'll continue the next day as he walks off chuckling.
Mm-hmm.
So getting pleasure there of pitting the kids against each other, and
Yeah.
just it's so brutal. We've never seen
Mm-hmm.
a reaction like this. When you have kids sparring, and this is even a sparring. It's a total. It's just punishment.
Right. It's
Yeah.
punishment because here I'm sitting thinking if they're really practicing this for like the tournament or something, like shouldn't the other person be trying to block or defend because that would be more like a real life situation as opposed
Right.
to just standing there. But yeah.
That's what the color of the black scrolls mean. Like these are punishment, So, and
Mm,
this is the lesson we're gonna learn
mhm,
today. And
mhm.
maybe it's not as effective. Yeah, when you have a
Mhm.
target that will fight back and defend.
Right.
We cut back to LaRusso Auto. Johnny updates Daniel with Robbie. He says the kids are struggling with this tournament being ripped away so close to the end.
Hmm.
Um, but he him too is struggling with this.
Hmm.
Johnny handling working for Daniel better than before. It's my note, and he's not happy
Yeah.
about being put on balloon duty, but he does it. And I had to go back and pull up the scene from the Karate Kid when they were decorating the gym. It was Allie, I believe, that was on quote unquote balloon duty. So I thought that might have been like a
Yeah.
reference. So I had to look it up just to double check. He was playing like with bones or something in the background.
That's it. I actually forgot about that. That's a good connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Amanda checks in on Miguel and Sam. We find out Miguel didn't get into Stanford. Sam makes a comment about how the tournament changed. I gotta say tournament. Did I tell you about this discussion we had in our group like years ago about the pronunciation of tournament versus tournament?
I feel like I heard it. I don't know if you like maybe you like on
It was
an
on
old
Twitter,
episode of the
possibly.
podcast or
Yeah.
something might have been. Yeah.
So I think the discussion went, we feel those that have been saying tournament, which is incorrect, probably got it from Mr. Miyagi growing up because he says tournament. Like I've always said tournament, and the reason this discussion came out because Anush, enunciates and says tournament, and so I
Hmm.
think I may have made a comment. Is that tournament or is it tournament? Anush is out here saying tournament. It sounds like everybody else is pronouncing it that way, and so
Hmm.
yeah, there's a couple of other people, that also thought that it was pronounced tournament, but we're blaming Miyagi on that one. So.
I think probably the way vowels work. Yeah, I'm just looking at it on
Yeah.
Merriam-Webster. I think both are fine.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Tomato, tomato.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Sam makes a
Because
comment. Yeah.
you shorten the vowel, yeah. Like so, tor becomes like a tur. Like it just shortens in your mouth over time. So yeah. Anyway, go
I
on.
yeah. I almost thought it was like kind of regional too, though. Like how some people say
That could be too.
Washington.
That's
Right.
very normal. Yeah.
Sam makes a comment about the tournament changed things for everyone, and it cuts to an up close shot of Daniel. Because yes, it
Hmm.
changed him too.
Hmm.
Amanda's picked up cues that Sam's got some things on her mind about her future and school.
Hmm.
And then this is when Daniel gets a call about the Sekai Taikai, because he says that, oh, Sensei Lawrence is here too. We cut to inside Daniel's office, and Daniel tells Johnny that he's not on board. And I like this where,
Yeah.
Johnny says, Daniel, please. It's just like, oh, he's come so far in this relationship. It's just, it's so good. But what did you think about both of their stances on the tournament? I mean, I understand where they're both coming from.
Yeah, I do think Daniel is a little self-centered because and this will obviously eventually come up, but like
Yes.
he's not talking about it with the students or what it would mean for Robbie or Sam or just the dojo as a whole, not even to mention all the other dojos. It's a very like this is what I want, and I'm not even going to consider anything else at the
Right.
moment from
Correct.
him.
We go to Johnny's apartment where he's struggling putting together the baby crib. And I think this is where so kind of teased it in our discussion. You're like, oh, wait, Peter, do you have spoilers that you're holding back on? I was present when Joe was asked by the prop master, Eric Bates, what color he wanted the crib to be. So
Oh,
that
when you
was
were
it.
in the set visit,
Yeah, right, right. And so it made sense, like, oh, because not only did Joe was like co-writer on this episode, he directs this episode. And
right,
so I
right,
was just like,
yeah.
oh, cool, the baby crib. And so it made me happy because I'm like, oh man,
And do
we're
you
almost there.
remember Joe saying wood? Absolutely, just plain wood.
I don't remember the answer.
It
Yeah,
would have been said if he said like orange or something. And look at what we got in the show. He's like,
right,
"Oh,
right.
I'm not doing orange. You're gonna have
Right.
to."
And shout out to them possibly using the real like Amazon box it appears that it came in. You just see it off to the side, and
Oh,
it'd be kind of funny that if they just had it ordered to like stages, it then just like put that box like, okay, well, this is what it came in, so we'll just use it still. Because
mhm,
the
mhm,
label looks legit from our point of view. It's a little obscured, but I see these labels daily, and so it just I just kind of wish I could see
oh,
the labels to see if it's actually like something that they fabricated or is like the
mhm,
official. But I guess if it has the address on it, that's not something we should be seeing anyway. But then
yeah.
again, they're no longer there, so the set's gone.
Mhm.
Of Johnny's apartment, he's not. So a very pregnant Carmen reminds him he's doing pretty well working for Daniel, and just being the voice of reason reminds him we don't always get what we want. He's not ready
Mhm.
to let go of the dream, um, with the
Mhm.
tournament and stuff like that. So I kind of like this. I really like Carmen in these final episodes.
Right.
She
Mhm.
hasn't been given
Mhm.
too much to do, but between Vanessa's like face acting and reactions to everything, I think she really kind of commands attention.
Yeah.
With her moments too. So I really like
Well,
that.
yeah, and Carmen and Amanda are always like the voice of reasons to the
Yeah.
guys, so.
Yeah, she made a comment of like, maybe you should be sleeping in this,
Right.
basically calling
Yeah.
him the baby. Yeah. We cut to Terry Silver on a yacht.
Mhm.
He gets a call from Gunther that not everyone's on board with the tournament, and immediately knows is Daniel. And if we forgot he was ill, a random henchman hands him his meds, and he tells him to tell the captain to change the course changing course, so they can go
Yeah.
pay someone a visit. Um,
Hmm.
and I know there's some details out, depending where you saw it and who said it in terms of like the creators, but have you thought of how many people might be on board to operate said yacht?
I do think it's
Crew
like a
member,
skeleton crew. Like,
like three,
so if they
something very
yeah,
low.
at the most, yeah, I don't think, you know, I don't
Do
think
you,
he's
do you,
bringing a full crew out the party. Like, they don't need too many people. There's someone to drive it and then one henchman to carry the pills, I guess.
right? And then Dennis kind of being the messenger on and off.
Yeah.
So just the
Mhm.
three, yeah. Um, if we okay, Kreese visits the Kims and has words. He says that he sent Yoon away, which is something I have mentioned before. I wish would have seen that. Um,
Well,
and
you know what's
then yeah,
funny on that line when because he goes, I sent Unaway, and then we go dun dun dun, like
yeah,
it's a huge like what does that mean? Like he said, hey Yoon, why don't you go home early or something? Like I don't know, but like it's just kind of like it's just like a line, and then they use. Especially since Joe wrote it and directed it, like then they use like the music to just accent like apparently this is like a final thing or something. Because it
yeah.
just sounds like, yeah, okay, he went home, he can come back tomorrow if he needed. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I kind of just took it. That's interesting that some people may have questioned, like send him away how or what, can we get more context? I just assumed that it's like, well, Master Kim had named him as their fighter, and so he is giving Yoon that out to, to
Mhm.
kind of protect him,
Mhm.
and overstepping Master Kim. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it is okay. Maybe I'll hold off this question until a little bit further here. So, thoughts on this exchange between Master Kim and Sensei Kim, where basically he's giving her this difficult decision to make, about, implying that she basically needs to kill Kreese, to prove herself, as he
I
did,
feel like I've
give her a
always
chance to.
felt like this is the way the way of the fist works. Um, you take out the person ahead of you or something. So in a way, Kim Sun Young put Kreese in charge, right? Um, of the Dojang for the tournament and everything. And it's like, well, if you want to be in charge, you're going to have to kill him. And it's kind of the way it's always gone from Kreese took out Turner, and then even later Kreese removed Johnny, and then Terry Silver usurped Kreese, and now it's like, well, if Kim Daun wants to be in charge or something, well, she's going to have to remove Kreese herself.
Man, see, it's so wild because this is not your typical dojo. This is like, a gang.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, crazy rules. But, I guess if you have nobody else in your corner and he's
Mhm.
kind of taking care of you, I don't
Mhm.
know. I wonder if it is the thing too, like if you do decide to leave, do you get
Mhm.
jumped out? Do you have to land a point on Master Kim, and then like, okay, you
Yeah,
you, you can go
maybe.
peacefully.
Mhm.
Um,
We also
so
get the
yeah.
green powder. I just wanted to
Ah,
mention like
yes.
the
Yeah.
healing powder. It's like a regional thing or something.
It could be, the heat massage is not magic. He shouldn't use this. This should have done the trick.
Mhm. Yeah.
Back in oh, that hasn't happened yet. Never mind.
No, it hasn't.
Oh boy. Okay. Yes, little callback to part three. Well,
Yeah.
did
Part
he also
three.
do it in
Yeah.
part one? Okay,
Yeah.
because it was a foot in part three. I don't remember
Yeah.
if he did anything in part one. That might have just been water and tea. Um, Let's see. Yeah, it says that she has a chance to prove herself, like Kreese did. She must do something difficult. Hand her the Unjang Do. We go back to the LaRusso auto and enter cousin Ness. We see that she's
Hmm.
still dating Anu. She calls her Sugar Bear, and Sheila tells Johnny, so we got Sheila back, who works at the
Yeah.
dealership, tells Johnny he's got a test drive, and the customer asked for him by name.
Hmm.
At this point, Johnny walks by cousin Ness, tells her to tighten that up. What was that? Tighten that up? Is that like something she's
I don't
wearing, or
even know. In fact, I actually looked at it a couple times. Is it like her belt? Well, she doesn't have a belt on. Her shirt or something. I'm not even entirely sure what he's referring to.
yeah,
Um,
I am not sure. Because I was looking when I took my notes last. I was just like, Titan Wada, what's he talking about? I mean, the expression definitely goes over my head, but I like how she doesn't remember him, and I had to think about it. I was like, well, I guess they probably didn't interact. It was really a LaRusso affair that day. It was kind of like a mini,
yeah.
family reunion on top of like a special night for Sam. So, um,
It gave him one interaction. Yeah.
yeah, right. He says he doesn't forget a LaRusso, and she gives him the double birds, a la Quan. I think a la Dimitri. So we got
Yeah.
a few of those. I feel Johnny might have even done it at some point. No, maybe
Did he?
not.
I don't
Maybe
remember.
not Johnny. Ness walks over to Sam and wants all of the details in Barcelona. Barcelona sounds like they've gotten closer than when we saw them in season 4. And it sounds
Mhm.
like Sam really enjoyed her time there, just being out of the valley, all things considered. And at this
Mhm.
point, Amanda joins in and wants to know what they're discussing. And we find out Cousin Ness knows a lot more than anyone. And
Mhm.
the back and forth of her and Amanda is great as always. I like the
Yeah.
how she says, what she say about like her and Daniel being good. Like, you got Daniel where you want him, right? So like
Mhm.
Kitty's on movements, like, if I change things. So I get it because she's got a noosh where she wants him too. So I like that
Oh yeah,
talk.
that's one of my like I play this game too. I got a new right where I went up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was, yeah,
Uh,
talking that clearly, she was the only one willing to say, yeah, Daniel's out of character here.
yeah. I wonder. I would like to think that Manoush has gotten better as well, from the days of like dating girls with daddy issues, and so I think this is more about cousin Ness having him right where she wants him than him kind of not putting one over her, but yeah, I believe cousin Ness though.
Yeah.
Um, we see, we find out Johnny's test drive is a high roller and it's Terry Silver.
Yeah.
Is this how you conduct a business meeting? High
Um,
speed,
Me
changing
personally,
lanes.
no. I'm considering it though. Apparently it works.
Yeah, very effective to some. I mean, I know that like the first at least couple times, I'm just like, I get it, Johnny. The baby's on the way, but man, it takes a lot to not want to sock the guy right in the face, while you guys are
Yeah.
driving.
I guess
And
Silver's thinking is they wouldn't meet with him willingly, so he's got to dupe Johnny in and get away so that Johnny, you know, is kind of stuck with him and he has to hear him out, right?
right, right.
Uh,
Because I
and
wouldn't put
the
it
one thing Silver says, where I mean, but like he's right, like you and me want the same thing.
right.
So
No,
that's like the key. Like Silver knows what's true though. So
right. There's no arguments here, with
mhm.
him and Johnny. Like he's
Yeah.
saying Johnny just needed to hear it more than they needed a discussion. It's like,
Hmm.
look, we're on the same page. That's it.
Hmm.
Go talk to your boyfriend and let's get this thing back on. But
Yeah.
I also wouldn't put it past against them to have some sort of kerfuffle and flip the car over and and both of them survive, but that it has to come to that, for maybe Terry Silver to be taken seriously or the other way around. I don't know. That
Well,
would have
I
been
think
pretty crazy.
Silver's too good of a driver to flip the car over.
Yeah, yeah, he does a pretty good job. Um, So made mistake since I need to go back a little bit. Okay, since Kim and Kreese are having tea, and I think you have thoughts, right, about Kreese's kind of sudden turn here in this episode.
Yeah, it definitely came yeah, sorry, quite a heel turn. It's just it is like a little sudden for me. Now, I guess you could say in show it's been over a month, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
however long, and he's been ruminating on it, I guess, but it does feel like um what does he say? It's too late to be a good sensei, let alone a good person.
Mm.
Um, I mean, that's a heck of a line coming from him. That he must be
Reading
in a
books,
very
some self-help, you
something,
know.
something. Reading Brianna's Twitter. Uh, yeah. But like, yeah, like it did feel like sudden from me. I'll take it, fine. But yeah, that's just like I could see him getting there, but I felt like I needed to feel his journey a little bit more. Um, from episode two, where he kills Dream Johnny or whatever,
Yeah.
kills his weakness, and now we're here. Like I get Quan died, but like, I just feel that like he never had a student die, or when he was in Vietnam, he had people under him die. Like he talks about this. So it's like he's seen death before. So why is this one affecting him more than anything else?
Right. Maybe because it's real and raw emotions as opposed to like a venom, a snake
Hmm.
bite that gave him
Hmm.
that fever dream and
Yeah.
that was all
Mhm.
temporary and just,
Mhm.
wrong chemicals messing with his mind
The
possibly.
most the most I can say is also, from the previous scene, Master Kim having Yoon practice. Now maybe he's seeing himself in Master Kim,
Mm,
and that's kind of affecting him. And so he's seeing
right.
himself in that.
The bad teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that he made mistakes with Quan and Johnny. Let me see, says, Kim says she doesn't need, no, what? He says to Kim that she doesn't need him anymore and that it's time for men like him to step aside. And to that, I say, Amen. Kreese
Mhm.
mentions the way of the fist. So this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. Where is the fist? Are they still in the U.S.? Are they back in Korea? Where are these guys from season five,
Oh,
you
I
think?
think they scattered in humiliating defeat.
Right, right.
They
One
were
is still
they
looking
were
for his finger.
international senseis who trained with Kim Sun Young, but after they all lost to Johnny, you don't go back to Kim Sun Young after losing and being humiliated like that. So
Right.
they
You'll
just
end
went,
up like Minsuk and
yeah,
Chung-hee.
yeah. There you go.
So the fists were Master Kim's senseis, right? So they were kind of quasi equals to Sensei Kim in season five. Like she
Yeah,
came along
yeah.
representing her grandfather, and these are kind of his people. Okay,
Hmm.
so Cobra Kai started with Kreese and Terry, right?
Hmm. Right.
And Master Kim, it's maybe something related to a viper, perhaps, and so it's still kind of snake related. We got the Viper Strike, is why I say Viper.
Mm.
But I'm kind of wondering, like, if you have any thoughts, because the way of the fist, are they called the fist? The way of the fist is just kind of like their mantra, right? Their Tangsudo style.
Yeah, it's what Kim Sun Young calls it, is how I always took it.
Yeah, okay. Um, I also say that I really love the dialogue here. Kim is the first person he makes good with, after this heel turn. Really does help her make this difficult decision.
Hmm.
Um, we're also kind of seeing like her sneak in to some of these like living quarters. Some people thought it was Kreese, like I did. You were not fooled and knew that it was her grandfather,
Hmm.
as others. And I think the strongest point that Kreese really made with Sensei Kim is that you're not your grandfather. I
Right.
think
Hmm.
that's it. Like she wants to kind of distance herself, and I think just that little reminder, maybe verbalize. It's like you're
Hmm.
right. Because she sits there and she's thinking about it. She's like, thank you. Right? Like she thanks him for this talk,
Hmm.
helping her make the decision. Um, we cut to Daniel inside his office. Amanda walks in like someone trying to deliver something she rehearsed and wanted to hurry and say it before she forgets any of it. And clearly accepting what Ness said was right. And I love how, yeah,
Hmm.
cousin Ness kind of walks in and is like, you got this, honey, or whatever she says to her. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, they seem to be doing okay now. Um, Just more great dialogue. Amanda basically reminding Daniel she's going to love him and support him, karate or no karate.
Right.
You got anything else out of that?
Um, no, I think it's just a step to bringing Daniel back, the first step.
Yeah. Yeah. Later that night, we're at the LaRussos. Daniel's got a bonsai tree, trimming it, probably trying to calm his nerves. There's a knock at the
It's probably
door.
the one they knocked over, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, he did say to save the tree.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and so he's probably okay. And then we find out it's Johnny and Silver. And I love
Mhm.
how earlier Johnny says, Daniel, please. And now we got these two guys telling that they trust each other. Johnny, his
Right.
comes later, obviously, but La Russo is in full effect, baby. That's what my next note is. Daniel, please. And now, yeah, I trust you. You
Mhm.
trust me?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Business meeting between Silver, Johnny, and Daniel. Daniel does all of the responding because it's him that needs the convincing, but also Johnny agrees. His only comment was he seconded. Silver admits he's dying, and Johnny has that
Mhm.
flashback to when they ran into each other at the hospital. And I
Right.
think this is what you were alluding to earlier about Daniel kind of being self-centered. I think was what you said. There's a
Mhm.
line here from Terry Silver: "Just know, whatever decision you make for everyone."
Right. And that's true.
So,
And
yeah.
that's true. And
I feel there's a lot of
because
pressure in
it's
that.
as much about the students and the fighters and the other dojos, than everyone. And why are you really saying no? Is it just because like you're disturbed, but you're taking away from them,
Right. Their
including
opportunity.
even Sam, at this
Yeah.
point. So
hmm Yeah, yeah. So I like that little reminder. It was a really great
mhm.
line.
And
Um,
and and by the way, since we get confirmed Silver's sick and dying and it's really, really bad, congrats to the fandom that, caught on to this after season 5. It was everywhere. So
right.
I wasn't even convinced on it, but and you never even know, like, did they really intend that, or is it just something, yeah, it actually makes sense. Let's go ahead and write it in. I don't know, but hey, congrats to the fandom for everyone that predicted it.
Yeah. I think it was intentional, and I think who who brought it up about season 5? There was something like we were supposed to learn about it again or be reminded of Silver's like kind of illness or whatever, and then it was removed or reshot or written out or whatever to be brought back in here. I think it was a thing that they were trying to get us to forget about it. That way, when they bring it back up, it's like, oh, that's right. Season 4 when we
Oh,
saw the
maybe.
pills. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's what that was.
Hmm.
Um, because if we're being reminded, it's not really a surprise, and you
Right.
kind of take that element away. But he sees himself out,
Hmm.
and I do like that because I'm thinking it would have been weird if they both walked him to the door. All right, well, I'll let you know my decision. So I like that. I'll just see myself out. Maybe steal
Hey,
something on the way
Silver
out
is a
too.
good businessman. He knows when to exit.
That's right.
He
He doesn't
knows
overstay his welcome.
right, exactly. In a business deal, they tell you got to know when to stop talking. That's true in like sales pitch and such.
There
So,
you go. Let him sit there and
right.
marinate on all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Sensei Kim allegedly murders her grandfather. I said that because
Hmm.
I didn't want someone to be like, oh, he just straight up said it. But that's what
Hmm.
happens. Like I didn't see anything allegedly. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was necessary. She was able to kill a compliment out of him finally. He did say that she performed it perfectly, this move
Yeah,
from
I
earlier.
like that she ultimately didn't use the knife. She used the move he was forcing them to learn.
Yeah,
Um,
and got
mhm.
it perfect. So
Yeah,
first
good job.
compliment. There we go. Maybe wasn't going all in front of her students, or was she laser focused this time and was able to execute it perfectly, is what I asked. What do you think? Just,
Um, I think um, I think it was the extra motivation that helped her get it perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
There
yeah,
you
she
go.
was just doing it. But let's see. His pride. I love. Yeah,
Now I wonder if her parents died because, you know, Master Kim, maybe not directly
they
by
failed
him.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it was like some
Beca-
sort of punishment, and yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually a
because
nice theory.
she she talks about how like this dojang is like the families and she's
Hmm
ready to be the master and to take over and he's like you a girl
hmm
to take her words and her cadence and when
I
she
don't
says
think,
that
think like he said that he said he was a girl, or at least recently when she was young, maybe. But just that
well
she,
I inserted that but that's
he just never thought of her as having the strength of to in his mind, which is
right
why he wanted her to kill Kreese, because it's like prove yourself, um can you
yeah
be like me is what he wants, can you be like
right.
me?
See,
um
so I think maybe it might be a smaller circle of
mhm,
people that really knows how evil he is, and maybe there's like a perception out there of this Dojang where they're a little bit more respectable, because it seems
mhm,
that it means more to Sensei Kim, um, on this family's karate, to be looked at in a certain light. I don't know. It's kind of like the things that she's saying. So I'm like, man, why is she fighting so hard for this Dojang? It's got to go
mhm,
beyond Master Kim too. It's got to be,
mhm.
um, yeah, just kind of more than him. So I don't know. Uh, Kreese
Well,
becomes the
in
yeah,
episode 10, it was that conversation with Tori. Is it worth it? You give everything up for your karate? And she said, absolutely. So,
right, right.
yeah, she was
So
dedicated to it.
there was definitely a lot that she was processing there for sure.
Mhm,
Sensei, no, Kreese becomes the audience and asks, "What did she do?" I don't
mhm,
think it was a callback, but it did remind me of like Sam asking Robbie. Um,
no,
to which we do hear our end of Sensei Kim's journey on Cobra Kai. Basically, this was her exit. Kind of saying what's going to
mhm,
happen. This is going to be the last time they see each other.
mhm.
Just her saying goodbye to him. I liked it.
Yeah, it was. And then she throws the knife into the fire.
Into the Fire. That sounds familiar. What is that? That's the title
Ooh,
of the show. Yeah. Excuse me.
that's the title of the thing.
Yeah. They threw Kwan's coffin into the fire. So there's
That's
another one.
true.
They're
Mhm,
jumping into the fire, which is the
mhm.
return of the Sekai Taikai. What else do we
Yeah.
got? Um, I like this line from Kreese. He says, "I have been the bad guy for so long. I don't think
Mhm.
I'll be able to change that." And we're all thinking, but you could do some good shit in the meantime, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Says he's packing his bags for the last time and that he's heading to the tournament, has unfinished business. Now, this might be tough, but do you remember which business you might have thought of first? Not like the actual business, but like, well, what's his unfinished business that you thought of first when he said that? Do you thought it was
Johnny. I mean,
Okay, Johnny.
Johnny. Yeah, that would be.
Um,
I guess Johnny first, and then maybe Tori second. But yeah, Johnny.
Interesting. My immediate reaction was Terry Silver.
Mm,
Yeah.
see, I
So that's
didn't
kind of
think of that.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I immediately thought that he needs to go kill Terry Silver. I thought that was like first on his list. So I
but
didn't even
as it
think about.
is, but I think it is all on the list. Those three
Sure, sure,
points:
right.
Johnny, Tori, Silver. So
And
he's got
yeah,
his work cut out for him.
absolutely. But that's why I worded it that way. Like, what was the first one you thought of? Because he's
Yeah,
got a few on his list. And yeah, immediately I was just like, he because we've been seeing Terry Silver. So
mhm, right.
we got the anniversary party at the dealership. Daniel gives a nice speech about family. Thinking he's Vin Diesel here. They cheers to the next step forward, and I'm adding or backwards if we think this is any clue that something might be coming in the near future here. Um, Wonder if the teens are drinking apple cider is my comment because we got a nice shot of Johnny and Robbie clinging glasses. Is that what you say? Like you cling glasses, or do you say like you cheers to each
No, I
other?
think they all got champagne, because if they had apple cider, they would have given some to Carmen. I actually made a note on that.
Did Carmen
They
have
didn't
a
even
drink?
get, yeah, apple cider if it's non-alcoholic, but
Right,
I
right.
guess it was only pure booze at this party, so
That's right. Yeah, there you go.
she can't even get a
I
glass of
don't.
water.
There's no water there.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Daniel saying calling it early retirement on party planning is a callback to something similar to what Mr. Miyagi said at the beginning of Karate Kid 2.
Two,
And
yeah. Mhm.
thanks to Mike P for the assist there. Excuse me. Miguel Robbie and Sam walk up to Johnny and Daniel, and Sam asks if it's true that the tournament is back on.
Mhm.
Daniel says, "It's true, if that's what you all want." And the trio all look at each other, and Sam responds, "Bring 'em on." We got the end
Mhm.
snake. My first note is I love that it ends on a lighter note than most episodes. So I did not
Yeah, yeah.
expect that. When it came, I was a little surprised and shocked that we saw an end snake right after that.
Mhm.
I go, "Oh, well, that's not intense at all." You know?
Yeah, it's a contrast to episode 10, so I think
Absolutely.
it sets up the next, yeah.
Yeah, same thing with the next episode too.
Mhm.
So,
I just want to
uh,
say I like that they throw such a big party for the 18th anniversary. Normally it's like you do it on the 20th, like 2 decades. But for some reason, I guess the dealership is now a legal adult, right?
well, do you think because Daniel is possibly considering early retirement that this might be like his last like full year or something, or an anniversary
I don't
party?
think he was thinking that at the time. I think it's
Ah,
just they'll celebrate every anniversary, I guess.
right, that could be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
annual anniversary party. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Just like you
Um,
celebrate every birthday, right? So
That's
whatever.
true. That's true. It's a big deal. I mean, he's got several dealerships, locations, and for it to still be going strong,
Mhm.
yeah, that's something to celebrate. Now,
Mhm.
the kids, who told them? Amanda, Carmen? Seemed like the decision
I
might
think
have been.
Johnny, yeah, he looks over at Johnny and Johnny just looks back at him. So I think it's from Johnny.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Yeah, and obviously there's no surprise because like Robbie's future is unclear. Miguel hasn't heard from Stanford, and Sam wants to explore like other options abroad. So it made sense. Like the kids
Yeah.
even probably talked about it.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the end of our review for 611 Into the Fire. Your thoughts after talking about the episode?
I think it's, we always talk like this is the one that sets up the part three, the next four, but it's a good episode despite, not a lot like happening. It's like I just said at the beginning, it's they're dealing with what happened and getting the tournament back on. Uh, but it flows really well. I think Joe and Juan, just write it well. It maybe one of the most um grim or intense parts of the series, out of the whole series, is the lesson with Kim Sun Young, where he has Yoon start working on the fighting the other students and using like it's maybe one of the darkest moments of the series, and obviously it influenced Kreese. So we're getting Kreese like we've never seen him before. We actually get Daniel like we've never seen him before, where he's just a little selfish and not thinking about other people. We're on a side now where Terry Silver is saying things, I agree with. Like, you're making this decision for everyone, and maybe that's not fair. This is something I want, and I kind of agree with Silver on that. So, just for an episode where like there's not a lot of action, really intense character moments from the dark Kim Sun Young stuff to the lighthearted Cousin Ness stuff. It really does it all. Great capstone for the writers, Joe and Luan, and Joe as a director. I'm very they've been my favorite all the way. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, I can't top that. I can only maybe just add a few things here and there, but
Go
I
for
don't think,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a bottled episode, but that's the closest thing I could think of. There's not a lot of like sexy things going on, and it's just literally
Mhm.
like kind of
Wait,
two
didn't you just
locations. Yeah,
say Law Russo is on, and now you're
yeah,
saying
yeah.
not sexy?
Yeah, okay. Well, it's sexy that the idea of them are like, just him kind of pleading to Daniel, Daniel, please, like,
Right.
I love that for them. I don't say that expression all the time. I say it more often, ironically, but I do love that for them. Um, yeah, it just kind of takes place in just like the two locations, basically, a little bit at the LaRusso's house, but mainly at the dealership and kind of at the Dojang in South Korea, and we're getting exposition, just trying to get the tournament back on, as we're also kind of saying goodbye to some of these side characters, like behind the scenes a little bit, your cousin Ness, your Louis and Anush, Louis and Anush especially. It was a little surprising that we won't see them back. This was it for them. Um, Let's see, what else did I? Oh, and yes, I think this is one of the few episodes. I would really have to think about how many episodes actually do this to me, but this is one of the very few that actually make me wince when I see
Hmm. Hmm.
Yoon,
Yeah. Hmm.
beating on Min Suk and Chung Hee because it's
Yeah.
just it's barbaric and
Yeah.
it's unlike anything we've seen. You know, the
Hmm.
punishment to hitting a brick or wooden dummy that hurts. It looks like hell, and I feel bad for Daniel and Tori that has to go through that. But you're involving several children. I'll call them children because we're supposed to think that they're teenagers, but yeah, and so think about the trauma that Yoon, is having to attack his friends, against
Hmm.
you know what he wants to do, but obviously is listening to his master. And
Hmm.
then Chung Hee and Min Seok just being on the receiving end, like, damn, dude, like
Yeah.
we didn't really even do anything to
Hmm.
deserve this. And so, yeah, it's pretty crazy, and all of that happens in this. So I love the dialogue. They write dialogue well
Hmm.
between characters. So
They
yeah,
do.
really really great episode. All right, so as per usual, what I have been doing for all of season 6, I think maybe I don't remember if we were doing that much in season 5, but soliciting feedback from the Facebook group, the Companion Network group. Got a few people here. The first one we have is Mike P. He says, a major sign that a corner has finally turned in Johnny and Daniel's relationship when Daniel explains why he does not want to go back to the Sekai Taikai. Instead of berating him and calling him a pussy, Johnny calls him Daniel by his first name and says, please. A small moment, but huge for his character growth. Oh, there we go. Yep.
Well
Completely agree.
observed. Yes.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I like how he says like instead of like calling him a pussy, stop being a pussy.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we're kind of past that at least for this moment, you
Yeah.
know. Next one is from Cody for Strike First Media. There we go. He says one of my favorite moments from episode 11 was the tea scene with Kim and Kreese. It genuinely made me feel a bit sorry for Kreese for the first time when they queued up the flashback where Kreese winked at young Kim along with that epic score, Chef's Kiss. I thought that was really
Hmm.
good. Actually, you
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, it kind of it it kind of just reminded you, man, she was, just a little girl, just following in her grandfather's footsteps ish. But they had that relationship, her and young Kreese, and so,
Right.
yeah. So it was also kind of like bittersweet a little bit to kind of have them part ways when you know that they go back to like the beginning of her life, basically. She was just a little girl. So,
Yeah.
the next one comes from Ron. He says, I think we all expected Kim Da-eun to kill Kreese because that's what her grandfather wanted, but somehow he seemed to accept it when she went to kill him instead. It almost seemed as if he'd been waiting for that moment for a long time. Kim Sung-young always said he stayed alive for so long because she still wasn't ready to take over the dojang. But it became clear in this episode that he meant he wanted her to take it from him, not inherit it. When he says she did the killing move perfect, I bet that was the only praise he ever gave her. I agree with that last
I
point.
agree.
That's probably the only
Yeah.
praise.
Hmm.
Yeah. But what do you think that he's been waiting for her
That's
to
kind of an interesting take because, like
yeah.
as I said earlier, the thing about the way of the fist is you advance by taking out the person in front of you, ahead of you, or above you. You know, and maybe he almost expected that from Kim Daun, and she
And
never did because instead she was trying to, make him happy by being the good sensei, but like in order to be what he actually wanted her to be, she had to kill him and make it her own, which is what she does. So,
right, she does do that.
yeah.
Um, the next one comes from Randy. He says, such a great episode to effectively launch the finale and pretty much start of my Cry Fest. My one complaint was that this episode pretty much ended the story of the Korean Cobras, as I was hoping to get
Yeah.
more story and development for characters like Yoon. One tiny question: did Sensei Kim really execute the move to perfection, or was Master Kim's age working against him? Hmm. I mean, he was also like maybe half asleep, you know?
Yeah, but he was a
Uh,
strong fighter, so I think she did it
that's true.
perfect.
Yeah.
He would, he would, he would. Kim Sun Young would never praise someone perfect unless it was genuinely perfect, even
Yeah.
in his dying breath, literally.
I believe that he's pretty blunt about
Yeah,
the other crap,
yeah,
So
mhm,
he's
yeah.
not gonna joke about this. it would have been funny if he, like I could see David Lopan, from like Big Trouble in Little China, giving just that one little jab, his dying breath, saying it
Hmm.
sarcastically, like, "Ha, perfect."
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
kidding, you know, just a big screw you before he dies. But Randy continues back stateside. I was glad that Johnny and Daniel got to the point that they could give disagreements and not let it drive a wedge between them. The moment when Johnny asked Daniel if he trusted him was so beautifully scripted, and I agree.
Hmm.
He ends it with finally, Daniel's speech at the anniversary celebration was beautiful. It had a very meta quality to it, celebrating not just the success of the dealership, but a winking tribute to the cast and crew of the entire show. I agree. I agree. That's yeah. I thought it was really great. That's why I didn't elaborate. Because I think we're all in agreement that some of the dialogues have been very, very good, and like it is also kind of meta, just thanking everybody, the family, extended family, that was part of the show. So,
Hmm.
um, the next one comes from Anne. She says, "Great start to part three. Number one, I didn't think it was possible to redeem Kreese, but bought his remorse. Seeing Master Kim make Yoon deal those near-death blows, him sending Yoon away showed him finally looking out for his students' well-being." That's right. So I mentioned Sensei Kim was kind of like the first person he kind of, made amends with. Yoon would be the second one when, yeah, actually, I guess maybe Yoon might have been the first. Sensei Kim was second, right? Because we find out about Yoon
Yeah.
being let go earlier that day. So,
Right.
number two, also loved the green healing powder coming back from the Karate Kid 3. And I was genuinely tense watching the tea scene between KDE and Kreese. In the back of my mind, I knew she wouldn't kill Kreese, but they really built up the tension. I agree, they did build up the tension, and I did go back and listen to my own live reactions, and I said, "There's no way they kill him in this episode." So like I thought it was coming, but
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to happen now. So was curious to see what was kind of unfolding.
Hmm.
Three, great to see Nessa again, and easily seeing Daniel was not well. I love the part where Amanda parroted Nessa's words and threw Daniel, "Okay, I didn't know what you were going to say." Um, and through Daniel, "Okay, I didn't know what you were going to say." What does that mean? Is that something Daniel said? Through Daniel.
Um,
I love the part where Amanda parroted Nessa's words and through Daniel. "Okay, I didn't know what you were going to say."
they, she must be
I know
talking
that,
about when I mean, obviously in that scene in his office, and then
yeah, he's like,
she
"What?"
hops
Yeah,
in. Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, the four, Daniel and Johnny's friendship. When Daniel saw Johnny at his door, he assumed it was because he heard about his blow up at the dealership. And they're finally on the same side of the table, literally and figuratively. They trust each other, trust all caps. People, they trust each other. All periods in between each of those words, and it's a beautiful thing. And she's got the teary-eyed emoji there. And five, and
Hmm.
like Randy, I loved how Daniel's anniversary toast was a nod and tribute to the journey of the show itself. So thank you, Anne, for that. Beautifully written. Great observations there.
Hmm.
The next one comes from Dorian. He says, Daniel calling bullshit on Terry was the best. Even Johnny looked squeamish when he was like, damn, man. You think he's talking about like in reference to like when Terry Silver says that I'm dying? Even Johnny looked squeamish when he's like, damn, man.
Could be. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Poor Gunther. Let the man have his massage. Let's see. Next one. Next point. Kreese finally showing his humanity was wonderful. Sensei Kim has come a long way. Normally she would be stoic, but to see her struggling to do what her grandfather wanted was so poignant. And Carmen and Robbie holding Johnny back had me in stitches. Field hockey sucks, Blatt. Just kidding. Wow, Dorian taking shots at Chancellor Blatt there. But yeah, we like the Johnny and Carmen holding back. It's almost like clockwork, right? Like they know what's going to trigger him. So
Right. Right.
Emily, she says, as Kwan's funeral draws near, KDE, Kim Da-yoon, states that the Dojang was his only family, and it started me thinking that all of the top fighters seem to be kids from some form of broken home. The way of the fist is their only path forward. The one top fighter with solid family connections, Sam, ultimately is fine with not fighting because her family is still there to provide support and safety. But on a lighter note, the Cobra Kai writers are so good. When Counselor Black gets out the trade school brochures, uh, they feature pictures of handyman Johnny Lawrence. I could not stop laughing. Yeah, thank you, Emily. Great observation there. And that was it, actually. That was the last hour of our feedback. So thank you, everybody in the group
Very
for
nice.
leaving
Yeah.
those.
Mhm.
Yep, the next one we're going to do is episode 12, Rattled, directed by one William Zabka. So
Oh.
if you're not in the group and want to leave feedback, join the group. There's a couple questions you got to answer at the very beginning there to get approved, and you'll be able to leave the feedback for these final episodes. Watch party, what you got coming up that you're working on that you want to have people look
So
out
some
for?
videos about spin-offs and that, and then we'll get into some more just analysis and talk. There's so much more to say. I got so much in my head, and it's like I got to get it on paper and then on screen. So
Sure,
we'll
sure.
go. I was kind of busy this past week, so I want to get back into that and start putting it out.
Yeah. For me, nothing yet to promote. Not too long ago, put out an interview with Sensei Ron Thomas. That was a lot of fun. He shared a bit of a tidbit in the upcoming episode about Yuji, something during filming that was really funny, and I'll bring that up during that review as well.
Mhm.
Um, and he also talks about just being directed by Billy Zapka, so check that out. They've been friends
Mhm.
for several decades, and it was really nice to kind of hear, his journey, bringing back Bobby Brown and interactions with cast and crew and stuff like that. So, but yeah, expect
Yeah, it's a
some
it's a
more of
good one.
those.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, until the next episode, flip them over. What is he, a pancake?